Sejun grips the hoe tightly and swings it into the ground with all his strength. He lets out a powerful shout as the hoe cuts through the soil with a strong swoosh. A system notification immediately appears in front of Sejun, stating that the Move Earth skill is activated. The ground suddenly shifts and flips over. One after another, all the sweet potatoes buried under the soil pop out of the field as if the earth itself is throwing them into the air. Kung stares at the amazing sight and exclaims that sweet potatoes are pouring out. The mother rabbit also watches in shock as the entire field seems to turn over, realizing that the ground has flipped over. Another system notification rings out, stating that Sejun harvests 1,321 power sweet potatoes. His job experience increases slightly, and his proficiency in harvesting LV6 also increases slightly. Another notification immediately follows and states that Sejun gains 66,050 experience points. The hoe in Sejun's hands begins to glow and gives off a powerful blue aura. Sejun looks at it in amazement and realizes that this is the power of legendary-grade equipment, saying that farming becomes much easier with just this. Theo, sitting comfortably on Sejun's shoulder, proudly raises his head and asks if he does not bring something good. Sejun smiles at him and tells him that he does a good job. Nearby, Kung happily picks up the sweet potatoes scattered across the field and makes a very pleased sound. Sejun looks over the field and grips his legendary hoe again, wondering if they should continue harvesting like this. Before he can continue, a familiar voice calls out from behind him. Iona calls Sejun's name, and Sejun turns around in surprise. Iona stands there with several other mages from the Gravity Magic Tower. The group has just arrived on the 99th floor. Theo's eyes widen when he sees them, and he asks Iona who everyone behind her is. Iona cheerfully explains that they are the mages who come this time to help construct the magic tower on the 99th floor. Sejun looks at the group and gives them a friendly greeting. The mages carefully stare at him, and one of them suddenly becomes nervous, wondering if Sejun is that person. Another mage examines Sejun closely and says that, judging from the mark on his left wrist, he probably is. Iona steps forward and properly introduces him, explaining that this person is the tower's intermediate manager, Tower Farmer Park Sejun. The mages look Sejun over from head to toe. One mage says that he looks more ordinary than expected. Another mage agrees that he looks more ordinary than they thought. A third mage quietly says that he expects Sejun to take the form of a giant black dragon. Before anyone can say more, a powerful voice suddenly echoes through the sky. Kaiser calls out Park Sejun's name. Everyone looks upward, and the mages freeze when they see a massive black dragon flying toward them. Their faces turn pale, and they begin trembling in fear. Kaiser descends and lands near the group with tremendous force. The mages stare at him in terror and realize that he is the great black dragon. Sejun, however, remains calm and asks Kaiser what is going on now. Kaiser looks around and notices the unfamiliar mages, asking who they are. Iona calmly explains that, as she mentions before, they are the mages who come to help construct the magic tower. Kaiser nods and says that he understands. One of the mages continues trembling as he stares at Kaiser and realizes that Kaiser is the real administrator of the tower. Kaiser suddenly ignores their fear and turns his attention towards Sejun. He asks when he can finally drink the makgeolli Sejun promises him. Sejun sighs and tells him to wait because makgeolli is a fermented food and cannot be made overnight. Kaiser immediately makes another demand and asks Sejun to give him whatever is left in the warehouse. Sejun shakes his head and explains that he cannot do that either because he may need it to make a proper starter culture. Kaiser tries to negotiate and asks for just a little bit, but Sejun immediately refuses and says that there is no way. Kaiser lowers his head in disappointment and makes a sad sound. The mages watch their exchange with stunned expressions. One of them quietly realizes that Sejun really is the intermediate manager. Meanwhile, Kung happily continues gathering sweet potatoes and excitedly calls out about the sweet potatoes. A little later, Sejun notices a small, round green object in his hand. He turns it around curiously and wonders what it is. Iona explains that it is a green pill that mages usually eat. She says that although it does not look like much, it is filled with the essence of high-grade magic. It properly supplies the body with the nutrients it needs and removes built-up waste so that magic power can flow smoothly. Sejun looks at the pill with interest and thanks Iona for the food. Iona happily agrees. Kung comes running over after hearing the explanation and says that he wants to try eating it too. Sejun and Kung each toss a green pill into their mouths. For a moment they chew silently. Then their expressions suddenly change as the terrible taste hits them. Their entire world seems to shake from the horrible flavor. Kung immediately grimaces and complains that it is too bitter. Iona looks shocked when she sees him about to spit it out. She tells him not to spit it out because many mages spend a lot of time and magic power carefully making the pills. Sejun struggles to swallow the pill, his face twisted with disgust. He finally manages to swallow it and makes a deeply unpleasant expression. He says that it tastes almost as terrible as the elixir of agility he has during the bountiful harvest festival. Kung looks at Iona in disbelief and asks how they can live while eating this kind of food. Iona answers as if it is completely normal and explains that the mages live by eating only this every day. Sejun looks at the mages with sympathy and asks if they really eat this tasteless stuff every day. Iona nods and says that it can be said that way. Sejun's expression becomes serious. He decides that this cannot continue and calls everyone to gather around immediately. The mages jump in surprise and wonder what is happening. Sejun presents several freshly prepared dishes before them and explains that they are dishes made with organic ingredients grown right there on the 99th floor. He gestures toward the food and tells them to taste it. The mages hesitantly pick up the dishes and begin eating. One by one, they taste the food, and their eyes widen in surprise. One mage is amazed by the flavor, while another looks close to tears because the taste is so incredible and calls it a magical taste. The mages become completely captivated by the food. One of them turns toward Iona with gratitude and thanks her for bringing them to the 99th floor. Another mage eagerly promises that they will definitely construct the magic tower. Iona smiles proudly. Sejun is pleased by their reactions and decides to bring out something even better. He tells them that they also have dessert. The mages look toward the dessert in surprise. One mage suddenly notices the object Sejun is holding and realizes that it is a holy stone. Another mage stares at it in disbelief and says that, as expected, the tower's intermediate manager casually handles such a precious holy stone. Another mage picks up the cold dessert and examines it, wondering what the cold thing is. Theo proudly encourages him to try eating it first. The mage takes a bite of the ice honey, and his eyes immediately widen. He realizes that it is cold and sweet and says that it is extremely delicious. He looks at Sejun with genuine admiration and thanks the great intermediate manager of the tower. Sejun smiles at their reactions and says that it feels rewarding. He looks around at the happy mages and tells everyone to eat as much as they want because they have plenty of food. As everyone continues enjoying the food, Bat quietly flies beside Sejun. He looks at the group with a slightly sad expression. Deep down, Bat feels troubled. He thinks that everyone is helping Sejun, but he cannot just stay like this. He decides to find another item that can also help Sejun. Bat gathers his power, and a brilliant golden light suddenly shines around him. In the next moment, he disappears in a flash and teleports away. When the light fades, Bat opens his eyes and immediately covers them because everything is too noisy. He rubs his eyes and looks around in confusion, wondering where he is. When his vision clears, he sees 3 girls standing in front of him. They are singing together and suddenly stop when they notice him. Bat freezes in surprise. One of the girls points at him curiously and wonders what he is. Another girl tilts her head and wonders if he is a doll. The third girl looks around in confusion and wonders where he suddenly comes from. Bat stares at them in horror as he realizes that he teleports into a completely unfamiliar place. He panics and screams while asking where he is. The girls stare at him in astonishment. One girl is amazed that he can even talk. Another girl examines Bat with fascination and wonders if he is like an AI robot. Bat begins shaking violently and begs them to spare him. One of the girls reaches out and tries to catch him. Bat struggles desperately and begs her to wait. The girl successfully catches him and presses him against her cheek. Her eyes light up with delight as she realizes that he is extremely cute, warm, and squishy. Bat remains trapped against her cheek while the girl happily looks at him. She then asks him if he wants to sing and play with them. Bat's fear instantly disappears when he hears the word sing. His eyes brighten with curiosity, and he repeats the word sing in surprise.